There were plenty of heroes and villains in my house growing up because my family went to Blockbuster every Friday night, and we'd get 3 or 4 movies to last us for the weekend. But in real life, the only time that dynamic really came to be was the relationship between my mother and the Rowley boys. And the Rowley boys consisted of myself and my younger brother, and more often than not, my father. And there were only 3 of us, but if we weren't really striving to be our best selves, we could really get into some mayhem. And one occasion I remember pretty well, I was probably only 9 or 10, and I was roughhousing with my brother, and we figured out that I was strong enough now that I could grab him by the back of his shirt collar, and I could drag him around the house on the seat of his pants. And I remember this being fun for both of us. But I could be wrong because we came around a corner and my dad saw us and he was not happy. And my brother, never missing an opportunity to throw me under the bus, really leaned into the role and started pouting and whining, and there was a tear, and that really sealed it for my dad. So he decided that the only just punishment would be for me to get a little taste of my own medicine. So he sat me down and started dragging me around by the back of my shirt. But I was firmly committed to the idea that this was fun. So regardless of what I was feeling, I was egging him on. I was giving some hoots and hollers. It's like, faster, Dad. And he didn't like this because obviously his punishment wasn't working very well. So we came around the last bend and he really laid on the heat, and I was swinging around and he must have lost grip on my shirt. And I went tumbling over the carpet, which wouldn't have been a big deal, except I tumbled headfirst into a door jamb and split my scalp wide open. So I'm laying on the carpet, staring up. The back of my head's wet, and my dad's just staring down at me wide-eyed, like mouth open, just like in shock, like frozen. My brother comes over, and he's just literally pointing and laughing, because it's the funniest thing that's ever happened to him in his entire life. And that's how my mother discovers us. And she jumps right into action. She runs into the bathroom, grabs a towel, puts it under my head, turns to talk to my dad, but my brother is just in her face, and he's now throwing a temper tantrum because she grabbed his towel from the bathroom. So she's got one hand on my forehead trying, keeping me calm. The other arm's kind of like fending off my brother, and she's just looking at my dad, who's, kind of, coming out of his shock and is starting to mumble some explanations of, how this has all happened. And she says, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out later. Get the car, because we're going to the hospital." So we all get in the car, and my dad's driving. My brother's in the passenger seat because he can't stay home alone. I'm laying down in the back seat, and my head is in my mom's lap, and the car's dead silent. And I can't see where we are or where we're going. I can just look kind of, up and out the back windows, and I can just see the street lights just going by at this kind of rhythmic pace. And all I can think about is, how the heck did I end up here? Whose fault was this? Was this my fault for picking on my little brother? Was it my brother's fault for throwing me under the bus? Was it my dad's fault for enacting this rather arcane and poorly executed punishment? And I couldn't decide, but I did come to the conclusion that none of the Rowley boys were looking too shiny after this. But there was, of course, one person who was really shining in this moment, the hero of our story, the hero of the day, the hero of every day, my mother. And I realized then that I was probably a little too young to be the hero quite yet, but I was certainly old enough to try to be less of a villain. Thank you.